Hey guys, I'm here with the simplest explanation for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It doesn't mean that this theory is going to be true. I'm just taking it from a very literal value. Whatever the game tells us, I'm going to assume that's true. And it just gives you a nice little perspective that does make sense. So what is Sephiroth's plan? His plan is the reunion, but the reunion is not like the OG. The reunion is when the worlds merge, meaning he's going to merge every timeline into one. So he's effectively getting rid of the multiverse. Why does he want this to happen? Because it doesn't matter what happens in the OG. Doesn't matter what happens in any other timeline that he loses. If he makes remake the only timeline and he wins, that means he wins it all. Because it's the only timeline left. But it also means if he loses, he forever loses. And that is one way you can just wrap up the entire FF7 story, right? There's no more if, ands, or about because there's only one timeline. Sephiroth's gone permanently. Story's done. So how is Sephiroth going to win? He needs the black materia to cast meteor, and he's using Cloud to get him the black materia. And then he needs to stop Holy, which stops the meteor. And so we see how in Costa del Sol, aerith, white materia got erased by whispers. And Sephiroth's been hunting down Aerith in every other timeline. Remember, he's like, I finally found you. This is where you're hiding, right? And then he got outplayed because Aerith actually managed to get a white materia into the remake's timeline by giving it to Cloud. And that's why when Sephiroth sees Cloud with the white materia in the remake timeline, he's like, that doesn't belong here. He realized he got outplayed. So he's going to have to figure out some way to counteract Holy now. So now to address the fate of our characters, Zack and Aerith. So every time we see the rainbow light, it means like a timeline, like some time shenanigans happen, right? And we see this happen every time Zack makes a decision. It's to kind of show you this plot device, right? And it happened when Cloud Sword collides with Sephiroth's. And seemingly there's now a timeline where Aerith so-called lives and where she dies. And we know it's not just Cloud's delusions. It's because Tifa can see a aerith that has blood and has no blood. But in the remake timeline, she got killed. And so why does this matter? Why is it relevant? Because guess what? When the reunion happens, when we're merging all the timelines into the remake timeline, that means if there's a timeline where Aerith lives, that means Aerith will live in the remake timeline when the merge happens. Same thing with Zack, right? It doesn't matter if Zack gets gunned down in all those timelines. We know there's one Zack that is still alive, and when that merges into the remake timeline, he'll be alive again. So in part 3, I wouldn't be surprised that the reunion happens, and then the whole crew is now here to stop Sephiroth. But it doesn't mean everyone's gonna live. Zack could still very well die. Aerith can still very well die. But like I said, this is taking the story at a very literal value, but it just makes a lot of sense. Why would you do all this timeline shenanigans if in the end they don't reunite again, right? So if this is true, then it just shows like the multiverse really isn't something that people need to care about. But I mean, there could be a lot of like crazy multiverse like plot twists that can happen. But at the end of the day, there's no way of knowing. This, like I said, this is just one of the theories. This is the simplest one, right? You're just taking whatever the game's telling at you as truth. And hey, creating like crazy theories and, you know, some of the really crackpot theories, it's all in fun, right? Until we get to part 3. This is what we have to do for the next 4 or 5 years, right? While we're waiting. But yeah, the story really is coming down to be... It's just like a different variation of OG. That's just what it feels like, you know? But yeah.